do I get inside? I need to activate it somehow. I thought I made it clear that I'm not in need of an escort. It seems I'm the only one with a mind of my own. I, the person in question, am fine, regardless of the king's orders. Return to the castle and tell that to my father, please.
How important is Zelda to the Legend of Zelda franchise? I mean, yes, her name is in every single one of the titles, but she isn't in every single one of the games. She is absent from quite a few of them, but the ones that she is in, I think we can all say that she is a catalyst for Link's journey. Link starts his adventure usually because of something that Zelda has said to him or given to him. That's not always the case, but when it is, it's at its best in my opinion. The relationship between Zelda and Link, Zelda and the world, and Zelda and the entire lore of the series is something so special that sometimes I feel like I wish I read a little bit more into. Today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite characters through an entire timeline, and that is Zelda in The Legend of Zelda. Yeah. I'm going to be talking about my top 5 favorite Zeldas in Zelda. And number 5 is The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess Zelda. Now I know, this Zelda is not in the vast majority of this game. In fact, she is in less than 1% of this entire game. At least her official character model is. This Zelda, though, left a huge impact on me, even though she was in such a short part of the game. First of all, I find this Zelda to be the most royal and stoic of any Zelda throughout the entire series. And while that is not really a character trait of Zelda, or never has been, she's always usually very different to the royal family. In this game, she feels at her most royal, which is not always a good thing, but in this case, it's very different and very striking when you compare it to the other Zelda games. She gives off this really fantastic, intelligent vibe. Not that she doesn't in the other games, but in this, she feels like she has it all put together. Even Zelda's presence in this game, her mere presence in this game, is impactful. You can see a character like Link gazing upon her for the first time, and he's almost in awe as he looks at this person who clearly has a lot of her stuff together or knows exactly what she has to do. And that's one of the fantastic things about her, the sacrifice she makes in this game for the rest of her people. She loves this world, she loves the people around her, not just her world. She is doing this for the people of the Twilight as well, especially Midna. You can see the relationship that she has with Midna is very special too. It's something that you don't see at all as you're going through the game. A relationship between someone in Hyrule and in the Twilight world. It is so beautiful to see. Her design is one of my favorite in the series, and I think if she had an even stronger character, she'd be higher up on this list. I love everything about the design. I know it's the kind of like opposite of the rest of the series, and that's again why I love it so much. The brown hair is honestly one of my favorite choices that they make, because instantly as you see her, she looks nothing like Zelda. The way she acts is nothing like Zelda. You can tell that this game was going for a way more serious tone, and yes, the rest of the game shows this, but it's almost driven into you as soon as you know that this Zelda is not the same Zelda that you've seen before. It's beautiful. At number 4, it's The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker Zelda, or should I say Tetra. Of course I did say there was going to be spoilers in this. This girl is cheeky, tough, and she's full of life. All of these traits describe her so well. And of course she's a fucking pirate. I mean, I could end this right now and just say she's a fucking pirate. I could just say, hey, this girl's a pirate, and all of a sudden I could just end this video and you would understand. Everyone would understand. She is a counter to Link in this game. It's almost the perfect type of bonding. I think a lot of times people don't like doing the opposites attract story as much anymore, or as on the nose as they do in this game, because they feel like that type of like 80s buddy cop drama doesn't really work. But in this case, her kind of very brave, outgoing attitude compared to Link's clear, fearful, and paranoid attitude, you can see it in every single look in his face, works so well together. It's kind of like that friend you had as a kid. When you were very quiet, he would always push you to do a little bit more bad things. You know, you go over there and steal that person's pencil, or something like that. You know, I'm sounding weird right now, but that's exactly how I feel about this. It's such a special relationship between the two of them. Her reveal is one of the coolest in the series, and I think one of my favorites. I'm glad it didn't get spoiled for me. And I think like her introduction, although unorthodox, is also very interesting, because I didn't know this girl was Zelda the first time I saw her. So instantly, I just thought of this as a cool pirate girl. And then as the game went on, I realized, and then the final moments was just shocking to me. Again, she's a pirate. I mean, come on. She's a pirate. Her reveal kind of like impacts the entire story as well. She becomes a scapegoat for Ganon's anger. While she didn't directly cause anything to do with Ganon, her then relationship opposing Ganon becomes way more interesting, because now she's a character who has done nothing wrong, and now you have a character like Ganon who you honestly kind of feel bad for, because what he's saying is kind of true in some ways. And now you have this story that you really care about, and that's because of Zelda's character traits, and that's because of Ganon's as well. Yes, some people say that she kind of reverts back into being a pretty little princess as the game goes on, but I feel like that's because the reveal impacted her as well, mentally and physically. You can kind of see that she returns to being her old self, her old Tetra self as the game ends, and I think that's because in herself she has resolved those feelings. Yes, she is a part of the royal family, but she's a pirate first. She's a fucking pirate. At number 3 is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Zelda. She's sure of herself. She's also sure of the conflict within herself, which, to a normal person, that's not a good feeling, but it makes for a really good character. She cares so much about the world around her, whether it be the nature or the people in it, and she cares about Link too, and you can clearly see that she does. She wants Link to go away, she doesn't want him to be fighting her battles, but at the same time you can see that there is kind of this reverence towards him. She looks at him training and kind of thinks to herself, he's working this hard for me. He's working this hard for my journey. And believe me, I truly think that this Zelda, if you put a sword in her hand, we could have a pretty fantastic Zelda game with her standing alone. I know a lot of people still feel like Breath of the Wild is going to be that. I don't know. It's awesome to see her want to fight for herself, and you can see it directly in front of your eyes. She's such a different person from the royal family in this game. And while that is, yes, apparent through the entire series, in this you see it right up close in your face. Through the king, you kind of understand her more. She knows she has a duty to her kingdom, but she wants to fulfill that duty in a different way. She has a duty to the people and to the world of Hyrule around her, and she's gonna fix it in her own way. She is very sure of herself most of the time, but there are clear cracks in her resolve, which I love in a character. A character who clearly says one thing, but means another is always so interesting to me, and I think with Zelda in this game, you can see that very well. She cries, she gets emotional, she feels the weight of her journey and the mistakes that she's made. Everything that she has done has been for nothing. I don't think anyone's ever going to forget that moment. That moment in Breath of the Wild where she cries in Link's lap. Instantly, a character I could never forget. And number 2, it's The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword Zelda. This to me, and I don't care, is a love story. And I'm a sucker for love stories. I love as well that she has this borderline aggressive personality. She's fun. She's kind of really fun, but at the same time she's pretty dangerous. You saw at the start of the game when she pushes Link off of Skyloft. Yes, she thought the bird would come at any moment, but this idea that she's fun enough to be able to do that. You can see the pain in her eyes when she sees Link, and she can't go over and just hug him, just be with him. And there's something so sad about seeing a character like Zelda, who is supposed to be trying to save this world just like Link is. And all she wants to do is just hug her current friend and someone she cares about deeply. All she goes through in this story is for the people around her. It's not for herself, it's not some selfish journey. She goes on this journey for everybody and puts herself in harm's way. She is a nice person who would die for this world, and you know she would, and she would die for Link too. There's this special warmth that you feel whenever they talk about Zelda in this game, whenever they even mention her name. Every character in this game cares about Zelda. Every character in Skyloft, I should say, cares about Zelda. You talk to Groose, you talk to her father, you even get Link's reaction when he sees her. People care about this girl because she's a lovely girl, and she gives off every single piece of warmth you could get in this game. I love being around her, I love seeing her in this game. When I replay Skyward Sword, I cannot wait to see the moments where she shows up. She is one of my favorite Zelda characters ever. Her design is my favorite Zelda across the entire series. While it's not as striking as Twilight Princess's Zelda, I think that Skyward Sword Zelda is just different enough that honestly I can really feel like this is a separate character from the other Zeldas in the series too. And they kind of are, because a lot of them are very different in the way that they act. I mean, we gotta admit it. The people who say that Zelda's the same in every single game, they don't think. They just don't think. She's not some stationary character, and especially in this game too, she is very much fighting alongside Link in her own way. Yes, she's not picking up a sword, and yes, she's not shooting arrows and fighting big massive bosses, but in her own way she is keeping the evil at bay in this world at the best way that she can. At number 1, it's The Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks Zelda. What is there to say about possibly one of the most fun Zeldas? No, the most fun Zelda across the entire series. Zelda is a character who very much prides herself on protecting the world that she's in, trying her best to stay strong. And while we see those cracks in games like Breath of the Wild and in Skyward Sword 2, you almost see those cracks in fact turn into big chasms, to the point that she is outflowing this energy and this emotion that it's clear that she's sad or she's really, really happy in some cases too when she sees Link. In Spirit Tracks, there's no cracks. There's no hiding of emotions. Zelda's fucking dead. Zelda is a ghost, and she knows it, and instantly she is going crazy. She is going nuts. She becomes very high maintenance in the funniest way possible, and who wouldn't? She now understands that she is no longer in her living body on this earth. And that to her is scary, which makes for some of the most fun comedic moments across the entire franchise. And I actually think that at her best here, at her best dialogue, her best moments, and honestly, on a whole, I think Ghost Zelda is one of my favorite designs at the same time too. It's really funny. It's really funny to see Zelda as a ghost. It shouldn't be that funny. It should be sad. But because the character's so outrageous and it sometimes says the funniest things, I find myself laughing my head off every time I think back to the moments where she acts scared or unhappy, or she's just upset at the way things are going. She expresses it in such a funny way, she expresses it in a very angry way, but because she's so overactive and overexpressive, she expresses all of her emotions in this wild way now, because she can float anywhere she wants, because she's fucking dead. It really makes her character so much fun to be around. And when I think back to every single Zelda, I love them all. But there's something so special about having one of the most fun journeys. And that's the thing, and this is one of the Zelda games that you get to go on the journey with Zelda. She always holds her own. She's always doing something to help along the story or to help Link. But in this case, she is doing it right in front of you on the nose. She's putting herself in danger. And it's so fun to see that. While I didn't feel as emotionally connected to this Zelda as I did Skyward Sword Zelda, this Zelda will make me upset, but it won't make me bawl my eyes out as the other Zelda would. It doesn't make me scream or squeam with excitement every time I see Zelda and Link together in Skyward Sword. There is something so fun about being around this Zelda, and honestly when I was making this list, I couldn't put her anywhere but 1, just because I feel like she's the most expressive she's ever been in the entire franchise. I love her in this game. That was my list. Of course, if you disagree with it, you can make your own list, because guess what? People got opinions on the internet. It's crazy that I always have to say this. But I will say that Zelda is one of my favorite characters, and ranking her in a list felt kind of bad, because she is just a special person to all of us. Every Zelda fan loves this character, because she is a character who has picked us up through a lot of sad times, who has made us happy, even when we don't feel like being happy. Zelda is an underrated character, even though she gets a lot of praise. She's an underrated character because she is never seen as the hero in a lot of people's eyes. But I think a lot of people know, I think we know, that the stuff that she goes through, whether it be pain or hardship, whether it be getting kidnapped or attacked, or holding her own inside of Hyrule Castle, we know that Zelda is an impactful character.